The arena stretched across the stars, a massive floating structure, suspended in the void of space where countless species from distant worlds had gathered to witness the duels that decided honor and power. The arena itself shimmered with an ethereal glow, reflecting the distant suns and casting long shadows across the polished metallic floor. In the center, a figure emerged, a human clad in a simple but sturdy suit, his eyes steady and unwavering. Despite the thousands of alien eyes watching him, the crowd was a cacophony of alien voices, shrill screeches, deep roars, and melodic hums filling the void of the arena. The human walked slowly, each step deliberate. His hands relaxed at his sides, yet his posture radiated confidence and calmness, far beyond what any human had shown before in this part of the galaxy. The Duel Master appeared high above the arena, levitating with a grace that seemed unnatural. His scales glimmered in the light. His forearms crossed as he gazed down at the human with what could only be described as amused contempt. His long serpentine neck curved elegantly as he chuckled, a sound that resonated like metal scraping across crystal. The human did not flinch. The Duel Master's laughter echoed across the arena, and the crowd joined in with mocking cries, some mimicking his laughter, others hissing their disapproval. But the energy was electric and thick with anticipation. The human stopped at the center of the arena, his eyes scanning the boundaries, noting the placement of barriers and the subtle variations in the floor. He was small and fragile by comparison to the towering alien Duel Master. Yet in his calm eyes there was a spark of intelligence and resolve that drew some of the audience's attention away from ridicule and toward curiosity. The Duel Master descended slowly, landing on the arena floor, with a controlled force that made the floor vibrate slightly. His claws tapping rhythmically, a sound that seemed to command attention. From the crowd he lowered one of his many eyes to study the human with a piercing gaze that seemed to weigh and measure every part of his being. And then he laughed louder, as if the very idea of a human challenging him was preposterous. He gestured, with one hand inviting the human to begin, yet the human did not rush. Instead, he bowed his head slightly, a gesture of respect, not submission. And the Duel Master's laughter grew sharper and more cutting. Some of the audience murmured their surprise. At the human's composure, some whispered among themselves, speculating if the human was brave or simply foolish. The air was tense, electric with anticipation. Every movement of the Duel Master radiated confidence and centuries of experience. He was known across star systems as undefeated, a legend among duelists who had bested creatures stronger, faster, and more cunning than humans. Yet the human stood unshaken. The human drew a small blade from his side, not with a flourish, but with a quiet precision that betrayed the care and understanding he had for his weapon. The blade seemed simple, unremarkable, yet in the human's grip it became an extension of his will. The Duel Master tilted his head, his laughter subsiding into a low hum of curiosity. He circled the human slowly, his multiple limbs moving in perfect synchronization, each movement a display of control and power. Yet there was a flicker of surprise in his expression at the human's stillness, at the way he held himself. The human's eyes never left the Duel Master's. They were calm, focused, yet bright with determination. The alien crowd continued their uproar, some betting on the Duel Master with wild confidence, some whispering among themselves at the strange presence of a human who refused to show fear. The human's mind raced quietly, calculating distances, patterns, and possible attacks. He noted the Duel Master's breathing, subtle shifts in his stance, the slight twitch of a claw indicating intent. These small observations were invisible to the crowd, yet they gave the human a sense of preparation that no laughter or mockery could shake. The Duel Master stopped circling and raised all four arms dramatically, a gesture that commanded silence. From the audience, his eyes narrowed at the human who did not move an inch. The contrast was striking. The alien's movements were flamboyant, his presence overwhelming. Yet the human's stillness drew a strange tension across the arena. The Duel Master's lips curled into what could have been mistaken for a grin. He spoke in a booming voice that reverberated through the arena, announcing to all that the human was about to meet a force he could not hope to withstand yet. In the human's calm gaze there was a quiet confidence that spoke of hidden strength unseen by any of the spectators. The tension built slowly, like a storm approaching from a distant horizon. Every being in the arena felt it. The duel master's amusement slowly, turning into curiosity. The human's presence challenged not only his expectations, but the very arrogance of those who believed humans were weak and insignificant. The human shifted slightly, his feet finding balance, his hand gripping the hilt of the blade tightly enough to feel its weight but not so tight as to strain every breath he took, was measured each beat of his heart steady and focused. He was ready not just for the duel, but for the judgment of every eye upon him. The alien spectators, who had come expecting an easy victory for their champion, began to lean in curiosity, replacing mockery. Some even whispered that perhaps humans were not to be underestimated. The duel master's eyes flickered with the first hint of respect, but it was buried deep beneath centuries of pride. He had never faced a human who refused to tremble at his presence. The moment stretched longer than any had anticipated. Every second, a pulse of anticipation, energy, and suspense. The stars themselves seemed to hold their breath, waiting for the first clash between the human and the legendary duel master. And somewhere deep inside the human, a fire burned determination, resolve, and the unshakable belief that he would prove that humanity was not weak, that even in a galaxy of gods and monsters, humans could stand tall and face the impossible. And with a final glance, the human prepared himself for the first strike. The duel master tensed, and the arena waited for the impossible to unfold. The human and the alien locked eyes, and the first moment of the duel was about to begin. The duel master moved first, his forearms slicing through the air with unimaginable speed, a blur of claws and strikes meant to intimidate and overwhelm. Yet the human remained steady, his eyes following every motion, predicting not with magic or alien instincts, but with sheer observation and human logic. He shifted slightly to the left, his feet finding grip in the smooth metallic floor of the arena, anticipating the clash that was coming. The first strike came faster than most could see. A storm of claws aimed to cut, tear, and crush. Yet the human twisted his body in a fluid motion, ducking just enough to let the claws pass by his shoulder, brushing against his suit, leaving faint scratches yet causing no injury. He rose instantly, using the momentum to launch a counter-strike. A simple swing of his blade aimed not to cut, but to test the duel master's reflexes. The alien laughed at the audacity, his eyes narrowing at the human's audacity, yet something in the timing of the swing made him pause, a fleeting moment that a human mind could exploit. The duel master struck again, faster, this time more calculated, trying to overwhelm and break the human's defense with each strike. The crowd erupted, their voices mingling in a chaotic wave of excitement and disbelief. Never had they seen a human move with such precision, such daring and calmness. Against a master of duels, they expected fear, screams, or failure. Yet what they witnessed was a human calculating each beat, each strike, each pause. He studied the duel master's movements, noting the tiniest tells, the flicker of his eyes, the subtle tension in a claw muscle, the slight bend of his tail. And with each observation he adjusted his stance, his angle, his timing. He was dancing a deadly ballet that no one could fully appreciate except himself. The duel master tilted his head in slight confusion, amusement mixed with irritation. His attacks became more complex, weaving patterns meant to confuse and trap. Yet the human adapted quickly, predicting sequences before they were complete. He rolled under a strike that would have split most beings in two and came up behind the duel master, slashing his blade in a low arc, not to injure but to force a reaction. The alien hissed in surprise, a sound that drew gasps from the crowd. The human did not hesitate for even a heartbeat. He moved back into position, facing the duel master, eyes locked, unshaken, as if the previous flinch had been planned all around them. Energy radiated in waves. The arena itself seemed to vibrate with the tension. The duel master's pride was wounded. He had faced countless challengers, many stronger, faster, or more cunning than this human. Yet none had met his strikes with such balance of caution and courage. The duel master's claws came at the human in a spinning attack designed to break both mind and body. Yet the human pivoted his body, turning with the momentum, the blade in his hand a simple human weapon. But in his grasp it became a precise instrument of defense and strategy. He studied the duel master like one might study a complex machine, and he found the pattern, the flaws, The hesitation, the arrogance hidden in centuries of victory with one fluid motion. He ducked low enough to avoid a claw, but rose in a step that allowed him to sidestep the spinning tail. At the same moment his blade slid along the Duel Master's arm, producing a spark that lit the arena with tiny flashes. The audience roared, alien voices filled with shock and admiration. The Duel Master snarled the sound, a low rumble vibrating through the floor. He spun in midair, his limbs a whirlwind of strikes, designed to crush and terrify. Yet the human anticipated. He moved faster than most expected. Using instinct and careful observation, he parried, avoided, and countered with minimal movements, conserving energy, while forcing the Duel Master to expend strength in vain. The Duel Master's laughter had turned into growls each moment the human remained unbroken. The alien's mind raced, calculating yet unable to predict every human response. He had underestimated humans for centuries, judging them fragile, weak, and predictable. Yet this human was none of these. Every movement spoke of resilience, strategy, and courage. A human mind that refused to bow. He adjusted his blade angle just enough to redirect a strike, sending it harmlessly across the arena floor. The Duel Master's eyes flickered with a mixture of respect and fury. He struck again, each blow heavier, faster, more deliberate, trying to intimidate with sheer power. The human read the rhythm, anticipated the intent, and moved accordingly, ducking, rolling, sidestepping, and striking with precision, calculated to test, not to kill. Every strike, a study of opportunity; every defense, a lesson in patience. The arena vibrated with energy, the alien crowd shouting predictions and bets, yet slowly. Their tone shifted from mockery to awe. They had not expected a human to move like this, to remain unshaken, to meet a master not with fear but with unyielding determination. The Duel Master took a moment, circling the human, his tail sweeping the floor, a threatening motion, his claws flickering like lightning across the surface, and the human waited calmly, watching, analyzing every twitch, every change in posture. The Duel Master lunged, a sudden burst of speed that would overwhelm most beings. But the human shifted his weight, sliding under the blow. The tail passed above him, grazing the arena floor, and he came up behind the Duel Master, slashing low again. Not to injure, but to force another reaction. The alien hissed in irritation, surprise, and the faintest trace of respect in his glowing eyes. The human moved back into position, center of the arena, eyes locked on the alien, ready for the next wave of attacks. Every breath calculated, every heartbeat measured. He had begun to understand not just the mechanics of the Duel Master's strikes, but the rhythm, the arrogance, the confidence that had never been tested before. The Duel Master struck again, each blow heavier, faster, more confident. Yet the human met each with a calmness that unnerved the alien. For the first time in centuries, someone had not flinched, had not panicked, had not shown weakness. And in that moment, the Duel Master realized that this human was not ordinary. This human was extraordinary, and the crowd sensed it as well. Whispers and gasps replaced laughter and mockery as humans everywhere, watching through transmission systems, felt pride swelling in their hearts. A single human standing against a legend, unmoved, unshaken. And as the duel continued, the first seeds of doubt began to creep into the Duel Master's mind. Could he truly overcome this species he had laughed at for centuries? And could one human really defy the odds and change the way the galaxy viewed humanity? The arena was alive, with energy, tension, and anticipation. Every being waiting for the next move, the human ready for the impossible, and the Duel Master about to discover that underestimating humans could be a fatal mistake. The duel had truly begun, and no one could predict what would happen next. The Duel Master had never faced an opponent like this, a human who moved not with brute strength but with patience, calculation, and an unshakable mind. The arena seemed to hum with anticipation as the duel intensified. Every movement a study in precision, every strike a message of defiance. The human observed the Duel Master's breathing, the subtle tension in his muscles, the slight flicker in his eyes, and he began to see patterns, sequences that could be predicted and exploited. He was not just fighting. He was learning, adapting and growing with each exchange of blows. The Duel Master unleashed a series of attacks designed to overwhelm anyone. Ordinary claws slashing with lightning speed, tail whipping in unpredictable arcs, and the human responded with a calm that defied reason. He sidestepped each attack, deflected blows with the edge of his blade, and countered in ways that were not meant to hurt, but to test his opponent. He was probing the Duel Master's mind. As much as his body, each motion measured, each step deliberate. And the Duel Master felt something unfamiliar, unease. The arrogance that had carried him through centuries of victories was being chipped away by a human who should have been fearsome, yet was steady and unyielding. He lunged again, a strike meant to crush the human before he could react, but the human anticipated. He twisted his body in a way that was almost impossible, avoiding the blow by a hair, and at the same moment he placed a swift strike at the Duel Master's arm, not to injure but to create a reaction, and the alien hissed a sound that carried both irritation and disbelief. The crowd erupted, sensing the turning tide, and human spectators could feel pride swelling. In their hearts across worlds, transmissions carried the fight into homes and streets, and every human watching felt a surge of hope that they were witnessing something historic. The Duel Master spun in the air, attacking from above, from below, from every possible angle, a storm of claws and teeth and tail, and yet the human met each strike with calm precision, not once faltering, not once showing fear. He adjusted his stance. He shifted his weight. He read the Duel Master's intention with a clarity that seemed impossible for a species so often underestimated. The Duel Master's laughter had faded, replaced with growls, low and frustrated. Each blow he delivered met not panic, but adaptation. The human was learning faster than any opponent. The Duel Master had faced centuries of experience and unmatched skill, and yet here was a human defying expectation. The Duel Master lashed out again, using a feint followed by a real strike meant to catch the human off guard. But the human had predicted it. He twisted and slid under the strike, using the Duel Master's momentum against him, and he countered in a way that forced the alien to leap back, surprised and off balance. The crowd roared at the audacity. The Duel Master hissed and circled, again evaluating this human. Like one might evaluate a puzzle, he had underestimated humans for too long, thinking them weak and slow, predictable. Yet this human had none of those weaknesses. Every motion, a statement. Every breath, a challenge. He struck. Again, claws slicing through the air, and the human ducked under one and came up with a swift move, forcing the Duel Master to adjust. Instantly, the alien had never encountered this level of adaptability in any opponent. The Duel Master's tail swept, in a wide arc meant to crush, and yet the human anticipated it, stepping into the arc in a calculated risk and using the edge of his blade to redirect the force, sending the Duel Master stumbling slightly backward. It was the first small crack in the Duel Master's unshakable confidence, and he realized with a chill that this human might actually have the skill and nerve to defeat him. The Duel Master regrouped, his mind racing, trying to anticipate the human's next move. Yet the human had already calculated the pattern, reading the flow of strikes, predicting the timing and angle. Before the alien could change it again, the Duel Master struck with everything. He had a combination of speed, strength, and precision. Yet the human countered, with an elegance and grace that turned every attack into an opportunity to learn and adapt. He moved with the battlefield in mind, the angles, the momentum, and the Duel Master's tendencies, using each strike to improve his strategy. He did not panic. He did not falter. He had no fear, only focus and determination, and the Duel Master began to feel frustration mounting like a fire that refused to be extinguished. He had always been unmatched, and yet here he was being challenged not by superior strength but by superior mind. The human moved faster than many would have thought possible, exploiting openings that did not exist. He dodged, slashed, parried, and retreated with precision, testing the Duel Master's limits, finding the gaps in centuries of practiced technique. The Duel Master realized that this human was not just fighting for himself. He was fighting for every human ever underestimated, every species that had doubted humanity's strength. The human's movements carried the weight of history, determination, pride, and defiance. And it was not lost on the Duel Master that the very arrogance he had used against countless opponents was now his weakness against a species that refused to yield. He lunged in desperation, a flurry of claws and teeth meant to end the duel in one strike. Yet the human anticipated. He ducked, rolled, slid, and at the perfect moment rose, delivering a non-lethal strike to force the Duel Master back off balance. The alien hissed in disbelief, and the crowd erupted in awe, and every human watching felt a surge of pride that one of their own was standing toe-to-toe with a legend. The Duel Master's pride was wounded more than his body. He had underestimated the ingenuity, determination, and courage of a human, and that miscalculation had shaken him to the core. The duel continued, energy radiating from every motion. Sparks flying as the human adapted continued to press without panic, and the Duel Master realized with a chilling clarity that this duel would be remembered for centuries, that humans were no longer creatures to laugh at, but beings capable of ingenuity, courage, and adaptability that could rival even the greatest of alien warriors. And as the fight raged, the first true understanding dawned on both sides that this human was not just surviving. He was teaching the galaxy a lesson that would never be forgotten. The arena seemed to shift with the Duel Master and the human moving like living shadows, the ground beneath them trembling with each strike. The Duel Master had never been tested like this. Never had an opponent not only survive his assaults but learn from them faster than he could adapt. Every muscle of the alien was coiled in tension, every claw and tail strike fueled by frustration and disbelief. And yet the human moved with a calm that seemed almost impossible in the face of such fury. He did not panic. He did not hesitate. Every motion was deliberate, each movement a thread in a tapestry of strategy he had studied. The Duel Master in the opening moments memorized the subtle cues that betrayed the alien's intentions. The tilt of a head, the twitch of a claw, the rhythm of a tail flick. These were patterns in chaos, and the human used them to dance around death, with a precision that seemed unnatural. The Duel Master lashed out with a fury that had ended lesser beings in an instant. But the human met him not with force but with cleverness. He deflected attacks at angles that forced the Duel Master to overextend, creating openings that had never existed. The crowd was entranced, witnessing what looked like a dance, but was in truth a battle of minds as much as bodies. The human had realized that brute strength alone could never defeat a creature who had trained. For centuries he relied instead on anticipation, prediction, and the careful exploitation of every tiny misstep the Duel Master could sense. The shift, the balance of power that had always been in his favor, now teetered precariously. He struck with claws designed to rend, but each blow met with fluid counters that were not defensive but aggressive in their intelligence. The human was learning faster than any adversary the alien had faced. Learning the tempo and pressure of every strike, the Duel Master changed tactics suddenly. A new strategy meant to overwhelm the human with unpredictability. Feints combined with real attacks delivered from impossible angles, meant to confuse and break concentration. But the human anticipated the change. He adjusted his stance, shifted his weight, and turned the chaos into an advantage. Each strike from the Duel Master revealing another weakness, another pattern that could be exploited. He moved with an almost supernatural sense of timing, stepping in and out of range, sliding under lethal strikes, and at the exact moment exploiting openings to force the Duel Master backward. The alien hissed in irritation, his pride wounded more deeply than any minor injury he had ever suffered. He had always believed humans to be fragile, limited creatures. Yet here was one defying centuries of expectation and proving that courage, intelligence, and adaptability could overcome even the greatest of natural advantages. The human pressed his advantage using strategy that combined defense and offense in a way that forced the Duel Master to react rather than act. He led the alien through a sequence of motions, each carefully chosen to tire, confuse, and expose the weaknesses hidden beneath centuries of training. The crowd could sense the change in momentum. The Duel Master's attacks becoming more desperate, less controlled, each strike a product of frustration rather than skill. The human observed carefully, noting the way the alien's shoulders tensed before a strike, the subtle hesitation, before a tail swing, the micro-movements that betrayed intent. And he used these to move with perfect timing, striking in ways designed to force the Duel Master to constantly adjust. He did not aim to harm, he aimed to teach the alien a lesson in respect, a lesson in underestimating humans at his core. The human understood that this duel was bigger than himself. It was a message to a galaxy that had long dismissed humanity as weak and insignificant. He could feel the weight of history in his movements, and it drove him forward, giving him focus, speed, and clarity beyond any ordinary fighter. The Duel Master lunged with renewed fury, a combination of claw, tail, and jaw meant to end the fight instantly, but the human anticipated. He ducked, twisted and leveraged the alien's momentum against him, sending the Duel Master crashing back with a force that made the arena tremble. The alien scrambled to regain balance, and the human moved like water flowing around obstacles, each strike calculated, each step a map of precision, strategy, and adaptability. He was no longer simply defending himself. He was shaping the fight, dictating the flow, forcing the Duel Master to reveal more of his style so that he could counter it. The Duel Master felt a creeping realization that he had misjudged the human completely, and the thought gnawed at him, consuming focus that was once absolute desperation, coloring his movements while the human remained steady. Beacon of calm determination. Every breath controlled, every motion deliberate. The Duel Master struck again, attempting a series of strikes meant to overwhelm, but the human flowed through them, effortlessly turning what should have been lethal attacks into opportunities to control the battlefield. He twisted, slid, ducked, and countered, forcing the alien to retreat. And for the first time, the Duel Master felt fear. The human pressed on, exploiting the exhaustion, the mental strain the openings created. By desperation, the alien had never faced an opponent who could adapt so quickly with so little apparent effort. Yet every movement from the human carried weight, every strike a lesson, every dodge a message that humans were creatures to be respected, not mocked. And the duel continued, energy radiating from the battlefield as sparks flew from blade and claw. The Duel Master realized with cold clarity that victory was no longer assured, that this human was not just surviving. He was mastering the fight, shaping it, bending it to his will without arrogance, without pride. And the alien could only respond with respect and awe, and for the first time in his life he understood that humans were not merely beings to be underestimated. They were thinkers, warriors, innovators, capable of facing the impossible and surviving the unimaginable. And as the human pressed forward, using the Duel Master's own strength against him, each move a calculated stroke of genius, the alien felt the first true crack in his legacy, a crack that would echo across the galaxy. And for the first time in centuries, the Duel Master laughed. Not with arrogance, but with astonishment and respect, because he knew he was witnessing the rise of something extraordinary. Something that no galaxy had truly understood: the human spirit, a spirit that could defy expectation, overcome centuries of doubt, and face the impossible with nothing but courage, intelligence, and unyielding determination. The arena had fallen into a hush that was almost sacred, the air thick with tension and anticipation as the human and the Duel Master faced each other. Neither willing to give an inch, the Duel Master had recovered his balance. His eyes burning with a mixture of pride and disbelief, he had always believed that his strength and centuries of training made him untouchable. Yet here was a human who seemed to predict his every move, who flowed like water around his fury and responded with precision and cunning that no alien had ever achieved. The human wiped a bead of sweat from his brow. His breathing steady, controlled his mind, calculating every possibility, every outcome, with clarity and focus that seemed almost inhuman. The Duel Master lunged again, but this time, the attack was different. It was more cunning, more precise, a combination of claw strikes and tail swings designed to test the limits of the human's adaptability. The human stepped into the first strike, using the momentum to spin the Duel Master past him, and then shifted to meet the second strike, turning what was meant to harm into a trap. The Duel Master stumbled slightly, a reaction that any lesser opponent would have capitalized on instantly, but the human did not strike immediately. Instead, he studied the alien. He observed the subtle tension in the shoulders, the slight unevenness in weight distribution, and the flicker of hesitation in the eyes. It was a human instinct to wait, to measure, to anticipate, not just act. And in that moment, the human made his move, a series of strikes that were not meant to overwhelm, but to teach, to redirect, and to destabilize every attack. A message that humans were creatures of cunning and strategy, capable of turning even the deadliest blows into opportunities. The Duel Master roared a sound that shook the walls of the arena, his pride wounded more deeply than any cut or bruise he had sustained. He had never faced an opponent who could not only survive his best strikes, but manipulate them. With elegance and efficiency, he lashed out with renewed intensity, clawing at the air with precision strikes and tail whips meant to crush. But the human flowed through the assault with a grace that seemed almost impossible. He anticipated every motion, calculated angles and timing with a speed that defied expectation. The crowd gasped at every motion, unable to follow the speed and ingenuity on display. It was as if the human were reading the Duel Master's mind, a being that had dominated countless arenas, now finding himself outmatched, not in strength but in wit, strategy, and adaptability. The human pressed forward, exploiting the openings that the Duel Master had unknowingly revealed. The alien tried to retreat, regroup, strike again, but the human maintained relentless pressure, each movement choreographed to force errors and to showcase the brilliance of human perseverance. Every strike was a puzzle, every dodge a calculated lesson in how determination could overcome millennia of experience. The Duel Master struck a series of attacks so fast that the air itself seemed to vibrate with the force, and yet the human moved with a rhythm that was almost artistic, slipping under claw strikes, pivoting out of tail whips, and redirecting the momentum against the alien. Each counter-strike a precise message that humans were far more than fragile creatures. They were thinkers, warriors, strategists capable of shaping the battlefield to their advantage. The Duel Master felt the pressure building. He had trained for centuries for battles of endurance and skill. Yet this human seemed to embody both and beyond. He was not just reacting, he was controlling. He was dictating the flow of combat, turning instinct and strength into predictable patterns that could be exploited. The alien's eyes narrowed, calculating desperately, searching for a weakness. In a being who had none that could be discerned, the human saw the shift, the momentary hesitation, the split second where the Duel Master's guard faltered and he struck with precision that left no room for error. But instead of going for a killing blow, the human pressed with controlled strikes meant to disarm, destabilize, and demonstrate mastery. It was a display of strategy and morality, a lesson in how humans could fight with both strength and restraint. The Duel Master staggered, feeling the first true taste of doubt creeping in, a sensation unfamiliar and unwelcome. Centuries of victories and dominion suddenly seemed fragile before the relentless intellect and adaptability of a single human. The crowd sensed the shift, sensing the duel changing from a test of strength to a battle of wits. The human moved like a storm contained within, calm, his eyes locked on the Duel Master, measuring every twitch, every micro-movement he was reading. Intention before it was formed. Turning attack into opportunity, defense into offense, and momentum into control. The Duel Master tried a final desperate combination, strikes flowing together with lethal speed and precision. But the human had anticipated even this. He pivoted, twisted, and leveraged the alien's momentum, using it to force imbalance and create a critical opening. A slight misstep, a slight shift in weight. The human exploited it with surgical precision, delivering a series of strikes that were not meant to maim, but to demonstrate the superiority of strategy over brute force. The Duel Master stumbled back more from astonishment than pain, realizing that centuries of experience and strength were being outmatched by a human mind. The human pressed the advantage, not with arrogance but with clarity and respect. Each strike a message that humans were warriors to be feared, respected, and never underestimated. And the Duel Master in that moment felt the first true awe in centuries. He had laughed at humans, dismissed them, mocked them, but now confronted by one who could anticipate, adapt, and control the flow of battle. He understood the depth of human capability, and it shook him to the core. The human stood ready. His breathing controlled, his posture relaxed but alert. He was not invincible, but he was the embodiment of resilience, intelligence, and the indomitable human spirit. And as the Duel Master struggled to regain balance, to reassert dominance, the human's eyes locked with his, conveying a silent promise that humanity would never be underestimated again, and the crowd erupted, sensing the turning tide. The alien's pride broken, yet ignited with respect. The human had achieved something extraordinary, something beyond victory. He had proven that courage, intelligence, and adaptability could surpass even the greatest natural advantage. And for the first time, the Duel Master faced the undeniable truth that a human could not only survive his assault, but master it and use it against him. The arena trembled, with the echoes of the duel as the human and the Duel Master faced each other, the air heavy with anticipation. Every spectator aware that they were witnessing not just a battle of skill, but a clash of philosophy and spirit. The Duel Master had, begun to understand that this human was unlike any opponent he had faced. Every attack calculated, every movement anticipating the flow of combat with precision that seemed almost supernatural. Yet the human was not guided by arrogance or pride. He moved with clarity, with purpose, and with the unwavering belief that humans could rise beyond their perceived limits. The Duel Master circled cautiously, his instincts screaming to strike, yet caution holding him back. He had faced countless warriors, countless challenges, yet none had moved like this. None had anticipated like this. And in that understanding, a seed of respect took root deep within him. He lashed out with a furious strike, meant to end the duel instantly, but the human flowed through, the attack bending with the strike, pivoting his body in perfect harmony with the alien's momentum, turning potential devastation into an opportunity to counter with a measured strike that nudged the Duel Master off balance. It was not meant to hurt, yet it conveyed the full force of human ingenuity. The Duel Master roared, his frustration and admiration mingling in a sound that shook the arena. The human pressed forward, his movements a mixture of grace and force. Each strike calculated, to teach, each dodge designed to demonstrate mastery. He did not merely react, he dictated the rhythm of battle. He transformed the arena into a canvas painting, a picture of strategy, intelligence, and relentless determination. The Duel Master tried to anticipate the human's next move. Yet every strike, every feint was met with perfect timing, as if the human could see into the very essence of his tactics for the first time. The alien felt the sting of doubt, a sensation he had never encountered. In centuries of dominance, every calculation seemed flawed, every plan disrupted. The human was not merely strong. He was clever, adaptable, resilient, and relentless. A mind honed by survival and ingenuity. And as the duel continued, the alien realized that he had underestimated not only the human's skill, but the depth of his spirit. He had laughed at. Humans mocked their frailty and dismissed their potential. Yet here he faced one who embodied the strength of will and intellect that could rival any creature in the galaxy. The human pressed on each movement, fluid yet precise, every strike a testament to centuries of human adaptability and resilience. The Duel Master lashed out again, claw and tail moving in blinding speed. Yet the human met every attack with a calm focus. He redirected force, he anticipated intention. He moved not with haste but with understanding, turning aggression into lessons in control and precision. The crowd watched in awe, unable to comprehend the speed and intelligence. On display, the duel had transformed from a fight into a demonstration of what humans could achieve when courage, determination, and intellect merged. The Duel Master stumbled back, a rare mistake, his pride wounded by the realization that strength alone could not conquer a mind honed by experience and resolve. He roared again, attempting to rally himself, but the human's calm presence seemed to absorb the ferocity of the alien's assault. Each counter a reflection not of malice, but of clarity. The human had not come to destroy. He had come to prove a point that humanity could stand among the greatest warriors of the galaxy, and the Duel Master knew in his heart that he had been bested not through brute force, but through the elegance of strategy, the brilliance of adaptability, and the relentless determination that defined the human spirit. He lunged with a final desperate combination, strikes the culmination of centuries of training. Yet the human anticipated every motion. He flowed between attacks, exploiting openings that were invisible to any other being. He turned defense into offense, momentum into control, and instinct into precision. The Duel Master found himself driven back, driven to the limits of his endurance, forced to acknowledge a truth he had never considered, that humans were more than fragile creatures, more than mere prey or subjects of ridicule. They were warriors capable of intellect, resilience, and creativity beyond measure. The human pressed, the advantage not recklessly but with measured determination. He did not aim to destroy. He aimed to dominate the flow of battle, to demonstrate that thought and courage could overcome even the greatest natural advantages. The Duel Master faltered, realizing the depth of human potential. He had laughed at humanity only to discover that the true power of a human was not in their strength but in their spirit, their ability to adapt to impossible odds, to turn weakness into opportunity, and to rise when others would fall. The crowd held their breath as the final exchanges unfolded, every strike, a message, every dodge, a testament to the brilliance of the human mind. The dual master could only react. He could only strive to survive against an opponent who seemed to anticipate not just his actions but his thoughts. The human moved with a rhythm that was hypnotic yet precise, every motion calculated to expose weakness and enforce discipline. The alien realized that victory was no longer a measure of strength but a measure of understanding and humility. He staggered under the relentless demonstration of human skill and spirit. He could not match the intellect, the adaptability, the courage that shone in the human's every movement. And as the final moment approached, the human stood ready. Unwavering, confident calm, the dual master stumbled back. His pride shattered, yet his respect unshakable. He had faced many opponents, but never one like this. Never one who could teach him the true meaning of strength, and the human extended no cruel triumph, no mocking smile. He stood simply as a representation of what humanity could achieve, and in that moment, the dual master bowed, his head not in defeat but in acknowledgement. He had laughed at a human, once dismissed them, underestimated them, and yet here he was forced to recognize a truth that could not be denied, that humanity was a force that could not be ignored, and the crowd erupted in awe, witnessing the moment when centuries of arrogance met a human who refused to be underestimated, and the dual master understood that this battle was not merely a contest of skill, but a revelation, a demonstration that the human spirit could rise above expectation, above prejudice, above fear, and that in the heart of every human was the courage and brilliance to change the tide of any challenge, no matter how impossible. The arena fell silent as the final moments of the duel approached, every being present aware that they were witnessing history unfold. The dual master staggered under the relentless flow of the human strikes, every move precise, every dodge perfect. The alien's mind raced, trying to find an opening, any mistake, any weakness that could turn the tide, yet there was none. The human was not merely strong or fast. He was a living embodiment of human ingenuity, resilience, and courage. And the dual master realized that all his experience, all his years of dominance meant nothing against a mind that refused to yield, a being whose spirit burned brighter than any weapon or skill. The crowd held their breath as the human advanced with a calm determination, not driven by anger, but by the unwavering belief that he could rise beyond expectation. He did not strike to kill. He struck to demonstrate a truth that had long been ignored, a truth that humanity could endure, adapt, overcome, and conquer. The dual master swung with every ounce of his strength, a combination that had felled countless warriors. Yet the human anticipated each strike, turned force into opportunity, redirected aggression into lessons of control and precision. And as the final clash erupted, the sound of metal against energy echoed through the arena. The dual master felt something he had never felt before: respect, awe, and the sting of humility. The human flowed through the attack, not recklessly, not carelessly, but with purpose. Each movement, a statement. Each dodge, a demonstration that intellect and courage could overcome even the greatest natural advantage. The alien faltered, his body pushed to the limits, his pride wounded. Yet in that realization he found clarity. He had underestimated humanity. He had laughed at them, mocked their fragility, dismissed their potential. And now he understood the mistake he had made. The human advanced, and yet there was no malice, no arrogance, only the calm focus of one who had proven that strength was more than muscle, more than natural ability. It was courage, will, determination, and the brilliance of mind. The dual master tried to rally. He tried to strike with everything he had left. But the human moved with fluid grace, redirecting every attack, turning it into a lesson in humility. The alien's strikes grew slower. His reactions delayed. The human adapted to every motion, every feint, every desperate attempt to regain dominance. The arena seemed to pulse with energy, the very air alive with the intensity of the moment. The crowd erupted in whispers, gasps, and awe at the demonstration unfolding before them. Centuries of arrogance and tradition confronted by a human who refused to be underestimated. And as the duel reached its peak, the dual master stumbled. He fell to one knee. The human paused, not advancing aggressively, not taking advantage of weakness, but simply standing tall. Calm, composed, his blade ready, yet lowered a fraction in acknowledgement of the power he had demonstrated. The dual master looked up into The human's eyes and saw not malice but truth, a truth that had been hidden by prejudice and fear. He understood that victory was no longer about dominance or destruction, but recognition, acknowledgement of strength, spirit, and intelligence beyond expectation. And in that moment the Duel Master bowed his head, not in surrender but in respect. He had laughed at humanity once, underestimated them, dismissed them as weak, fragile beings. Yet here he stood, faced with one who had shattered centuries of arrogance and prejudice with skill, intellect, and courage. The crowd erupted in a roar that shook the arena, waves of admiration and disbelief echoing through the stands. The human lowered his blade fully, the gesture not of triumph over a defeated opponent, but of recognition that he had achieved something far greater than victory. He had proven the unthinkable, that humanity could rise above expectation, above doubt, above fear, and claim its place among the greatest. The Duel Master rose slowly, his limbs trembling, his pride wounded yet his respect unshakable. He extended a clawed hand, not in threat but in acknowledgement, a gesture that humans had long dreamed of, a recognition that the human spirit was a force that could not be ignored. The human took the hand firmly, shaking it with calm strength. The crowd erupted again, witnessing the moment when centuries of arrogance met the indomitable courage of a human, and in that handshake was a promise, a silent declaration that humans could face any challenge, any enemy, any impossibility, and rise victorious through intellect, adaptability, and spirit. The Duel Master stepped back, studying the human with new eyes, no longer seeing prey but seeing a warrior equal in every way, a being capable of brilliance, courage, and honor that defied expectation. The human sheathed his blade slowly, each movement deliberate, measured the arena. Quiet, except for the collective heartbeat of thousands of spectators, everyone aware that they had witnessed a moment that would be remembered for generations. A human had not merely survived a duel. He had transformed perception, shattered prejudice, and proven that courage and intelligence could overcome centuries of dominance. The Duel Master bowed deeply, this time in full respect. He had laughed at humans once, he had underestimated them. Now he had no choice but to honor their potential. The human stood tall, calm, proud, yet humble, his eyes scanning the arena, acknowledging the admiration, the awe, the disbelief. And he understood that this moment was bigger than a duel, bigger than combat. It was a revelation, a testament to the unyielding human spirit. And as the crowd roared, the human raised his blade once more, not as a weapon of war but as a symbol of humanity's capacity to endure, to rise, to conquer against all odds. And the Duel Master raised his clawed hand in salute, a rare gesture of respect. The audience erupted in thunderous applause, a standing ovation, for a human who had changed perception, for an alien who had learned humility. And for a moment the galaxy seemed to pause as the truth settled in. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was not fragile. Humanity was capable of greatness. And in that moment, the duel ended not with defeat, but with understanding, a mutual recognition that the human spirit could not be ignored and would never be underestimated again. The Duel Master stepped aside, allowing the human to stand at the center of the arena. The crowd cheered louder than ever before, and in that sound was a promise, a recognition that humanity had arrived, that the courage, ingenuity, and resilience of humans would echo through the stars forever. And the human lowered his blade. One last time, a calm smile on his face, knowing that he had not just won a duel. He had changed perception. He had proven that the HFY spirit was real, undeniable, unstoppable. And the galaxy would remember this moment. The Duel Master finally nodded his head, accepting the truth. Humanity had won not through brute force but through courage, intellect, and an unbreakable spirit. And the story of this duel would be told for centuries. A human had faced the impossible and emerged victorious, leaving an echo through the universe that no species would ever forget. Humanity was a force to be reckoned with, and the stars themselves seemed to acknowledge it. The arena slowly quieted as the echoes of the duel faded. The human stood at the center, his chest rising and falling steadily, his eyes scanning the faces of the crowd filled with awe and disbelief. He felt the weight of the moment, not in triumph, but in the knowledge that something had shifted. Something had changed in the perception of countless beings across the galaxy. The Duel Master stepped forward slowly, each movement deliberate, each step a recognition of the human's unmatched skill and unyielding spirit. He extended his clawed hand, not in challenge but in honor, a gesture rarely given in all the histories of his people. The human accepted it calmly, firmly, their grip a meeting of strength and respect, a silent acknowledgement that what had been underestimated could never be ignored again. The crowd watched in stunned silence, their collective energy vibrating through the arena, as though the very fabric of space acknowledged the significance of the moment. The Duel Master spoke in his deep, resonant voice, words that carried not pride, but humility and respect. He declared that humans were not merely survivors, not merely fighters, but beings of ingenuity, courage, and unbreakable will. The human nodded slightly, acknowledging the truth in the words, knowing that the duel had been more than combat. It had been a demonstration of the human capacity to rise above doubt, above fear, above every limitation imposed upon them by the galaxy, or by those who thought them weak. He lowered his blade slowly, not as a weapon, but as a symbol of the endless potential contained within. Humanity. The Duel Master stepped back, bowing deeply, a gesture of honor and acceptance. The crowd erupted into cheers, applause, shouts, and cries of admiration, every corner of the arena vibrating with the recognition that they had witnessed something extraordinary. A human had faced the impossible, had defied centuries of expectation, and had emerged not just victorious, but transformed the perception of all who watched. The human raised his hand once to the crowd, a simple gesture carrying the weight of promise, a promise that humanity would continue to rise to challenges, that they would continue to face every impossible foe and every cosmic trial, with courage, intellect, and determination. The Duel Master lingered for a moment longer, his eyes reflecting a mixture of awe and enlightenment. He had laughed at humans once he had doubted them. Now he could only recognize that they were a force that could not be dismissed. He spoke again, his voice carrying through the arena, declaring that the humans had earned not merely victory but respect, and that their spirit would forever echo in the annals of galactic history. The human nodded, acknowledging the honor, yet remaining humble, knowing that this moment was not about pride. It was about proving that humanity could endure, adapt, and overcome against all odds. The crowd surged forward as if to touch the moment, to be part of history itself. The human smiled calmly, his presence alone a symbol of what his species represented: courage, determination, intelligence, and an unyielding will to survive and thrive. The Duel Master finally stepped aside, allowing the human to stand alone at the center of the arena, a living testament to everything humanity could be. The stars above seemed to shine brighter, as if celebrating the victory not of a single duel, but of an entire species. And in that silence the galaxy understood that humans were no longer to be underestimated. They were no longer a curiosity or a weakness. They were a force, a presence, a spirit that could not be contained. And the human lowered his hand one last time, the energy of the arena slowly fading, but the impact eternal. The spectators left with their minds expanded, their hearts filled with admiration, their understanding forever altered. And as the sun set across the alien skies, the human turned and walked away, calm, composed, aware that this duel was only a beginning, that humanity would face far greater challenges, but that they would rise too. Everyone with courage and intelligence, with spirit and resilience, and the echo of that duel would follow him across the stars, inspiring all who heard it, that no matter the odds, no matter the foe, humanity could endure, could adapt, and could triumph. And so the arena stood empty, but the legacy remained a testament to the human spirit, a promise to the galaxy that they would never be underestimated, and that their courage and ingenuity would shape the future of all civilizations. And in that, enduring truth, the story of the human who had faced the impossible and changed perception forever concluded with clarity and impact, and the stars themselves seemed to whisper the words that would forever mark the moment the human had proven humanity's place among the greats, and the galaxy would remember forever the end.